Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 228 of the J Situation Podcast. I'm recording this on September 10th, 2024. So, recording this at the typically scheduled time, but I'm delaying publication of the episode by a day out of respect for the day. 23 years ago, on a Tuesday, we watched a terrible event occur, and our country was forever changed. May God be with the fallen and their loved ones. And accordingly, this episode will be published on Thursday, September 12th. So stepping away now from that somber reminder that we're reminded of every year, I hope you're all doing well. I hope you have been enjoying this awesome weather. Many parts of the country have been getting quite the reprieve. Yeah, quite the reprieve from the summer heat. It actually feels like fall, which is pretty nuts. Hope your game cameras and feeders are all in working order. Man, this weekend, we were checking some of ours, and some of the clocks were off, and it was disturbing. So make sure you have those set, all that good stuff. The deer are ready and willing to be sacrificed for your hunting enjoyment. So their loss is your gain. Going out of business? No. We've had a wet year. So I think antler growth is a little bit better, which is cool. We shall see. Looking at the game camera photos this season, I tell you what, there are some humdingers, and I am super stoked. The wildlife management has been paying quite a lot of dividends, which is exciting. So on this episode today, we have a lot to cover. Just like last episode, this is going to be a dual-purpose talk. We have the technical discussion of the PTR VENT 1 white paper that was published last week. That was Sound Signature Review 6160. That was a really big deal. A lot to look at there, and so we're going to have to get into that in quite a lot of depth. And also, concurrently with this episode, we are publishing another paper. That's right, Sound Signature Review 6161, the Savage Arms AccuCan AC30 with 762 NATO. Okay, so you folks saw the Savage AccuCan AC22 back in paper 6154. So this is in the same family, just a little different application. Right? So similar technology in both silencers, both the AC22 and the AC30. So now you folks will get to see how that type of technology can be scaled and the efficiency or inefficiency of doing something like that. Yeah, very interesting. So in this particular case, I think it does offer a powerful window into design evolution through the years. I really do think that. So this will be the introductory talk for that Savage article today, and we'll hit the technical deep dive for it next week, as is tradition. Okay, so if you've been here before, welcome back. If you're new to the podcast, welcome. We're glad to have you. Very excited for you to be here. There are timestamps in the episode description for you to skip to where you like. But if you want to hang around with me a little longer, I'm going to quickly speak to you about the companies who make this podcast possible. I feel like I'm dreaming. Every time I do this thing, I'm just so thrilled with the support, and this is the 228th episode. That's nuts. And as always, this episode is brought to you by Legion Athletics. Nothing you do, exercise, sports, anything is worth doing with consistency. You have to do it all the time if you want to be good at it. Legion Athletics can help, and you know what? I'm going to just take this opportunity to tell you a personal story really quick. I am dealing with a severe injury, and I have been doing rehab. When I tell you this every episode, when I talk about Legion in this ad, I say the words, nothing you do is worth doing without consistency. Obviously, that's a little bit hyperbolic because there are some things you don't want to do all the time, like, drinking beer, things like that. You want to do that in moderation. But when it comes to fitness and strength training and things like that, lack of consistency can certainly bite you, and a corollary to that is ramping up the consistency when rehabbing an injury can be so beneficial. It almost feels like a miracle. And so I do want to say, when I say the words to you in these ads, I'm being serious. I know. Obviously, like ads are here because we're getting revenue from them, and it pays for our time and the services that we're offering so that we can produce the podcast, right? But I told you guys long ago that I would never have a company sponsor the podcast that I didn't believe in. And this is no different. So I know that took a while to explain, so thank you for your patience hearing it. They do have, Legion Athletics, that is, legionathletics.com. They do have a lot of supplements. And staples for me personally, whey protein and creatine are the two supplements that I found during my strength training life and career to be the most bang for your buck. But they have quite a lot of other things too, okay? They have a lot. Code word PewScience to save 20% off of your first order. Keep using the code forever, and you'll get a net 10% off using points, which is really valuable because you will use these supplements for quite a long time. They're very high quality, okay? Get strong. It's important. This podcast is also brought to you by Silencer Shop. That's right. Silencer Shop has done a tremendous amount of good for both silencer consumers and the industry. They have done a lot for a lot of dealers, large and small, all over the country. If you are a new dealer looking to get started in the space and you can't hold inventory, or you want to maintain some low overhead, you're just getting into it, man, you can contact Silencer Shop, buy their kiosk or whatever. I don't know how you get one of those. You probably buy it. It's exceptionally useful for consumers. I know that I enjoy using the kiosk. You do your fingerprints and photos electronically. You cut down on errors. You simplify your silencer purchasing process. You get a money-back guarantee. It's very good. You don't pay any transfer fees. You don't have any paperwork errors, and it's just you and your silencer with no drama. It truly is silencer ownership simplified. And we're thrilled to receive continued support from Silencer Shop. And this episode is also brought to you by Top Gun Range Houston. If you are in the Houston area, even if you're just passing through on a business trip, I know a lot of you have business in Houston. I know I regularly do. They are worth checking out. They have a 15-lane indoor shooting range, which is pretty nuts. And to complement that, they have the largest firearm rental fleet in the entire state of Texas, and that's saying something. And you can rent the pistols and rifles and shotguns and machine guns there at the range. You can also rent silencers, pair them with host weapons that we've tested on PewScience.com, and really experience the entire suppressed weapon systems. Although it is indoors, it's still a good experience. I urge you, if you're new to suppressed small arms and in the Houston area, to check that out. Visit their website at topgunrange.com. Find them on Instagram at Top Gun Range. They make some great, funny memes and things. Kyle and his crew are fantastic people. They really are good people. They're cool. Like, I talked to Kyle. He's fun. Like, I like dealing with him. He's a nice guy. He's a gun guy. He likes silencers. It's cool. Also, this podcast is brought to you by Capital Armory. And this is a really important point that I hope people understand. Silencers are in super high demand. Okay. And when you apply to purchase a silencer and you pay the government their toll, the approval time is relatively quick nowadays. And so because approval times are quick and silencers are in high demand in general, you as a consumer, you really need to understand your options when purchasing them because, frankly, everyone would love to use one place, but you've got to vary your options if you want to do this intelligently. Capital Armory is here to help. They're a big part of the industry, and they have a pretty unique twist. Not only do they have a large selection of silencers, and of course they help you with the painful paperwork, that's a no-brainer, they actually can ship your silencer directly to you. That's not for everybody, but it is for folks that, what if you can't go to the gun store? What if you work nights? There's a lot. What if you don't have gun stores around you because you're somewhere in middle America that's out in the boonies? There's no kiosk or something. You know what I mean? So it's important. If you're in one of the 42 states where silencers are legal, you can order a silencer in your living room with Capital Armory and have it shipped directly to the same living room. It's actually exceptionally crazy that can work. And it's really that easy. Capital Armory, silencer shipped directly to your door. And finally, this podcast is brought to you by the Pew Science Laboratory. I'm very thrilled about that. I'm the technical director of the lab. In the interest of public education, we've chosen to continue to sponsor the podcast, continue to do this for you guys. We do run a public research effort that you all see, multiple times a month we publish things. We continue to push the silencer industry forward one test at a time. You can visit pewscience.com. You can look at our metric, the suppression rating. It's the simplest, most accurate hearing safe rating for your suppressed small arms. The suppression rating is an objective metric, and it's based on true human inner ear response of the entire gunshot, the entire event, from before the combustion takes place all the way until all the combustion is gone and all the mechanical operation has ceased from the weapon system. Okay, it's the whole thing. It's the whole thing. And Pew Science is the home of the Silencer Sound Standard. We created this with 7 sections, and it is a compendium of the most in-depth and accurate silencer data and analysis in the entire world. It's not just data. It's analysis, meaningful, actionable information for you, 24/7, available to the public at pewscience.com. And you can support this podcast. You can support all of that research. You can support all the public testing we do by joining with a membership at the website at pewscience.com. There's a donate feature on the review page and the podcast page. Every little bit helps. And you know what? If times are tight and you don't want to give anything monetarily, that is no skin off my back, and that's fine. The fact that you're listening to this podcast is incredible. Thank you for listening. And if you would be so kind, just give it a good rating on Spotify or iTunes or whatever provider, YouTube, like and subscribe, and spread the word. Help folks know that silencers and guns are awesome and will normalize the use of suppressed small arms. And I think we've done a lot of that so far in the few years we've been doing it, and we'll continue. So 2 topics for you today. Thanks for sticking with me through all that. Topic 1, Sound Signature Review 6160, the PTR VENT 1 with 762 NATO. That's the purposely induced porosity technology applied in the 762 NATO combustion regime. You saw this with 9mm, you saw it with 5.56. And so the question was, well, what happens when you tune it? What happens when you tune it, especially for this type of combustion regime? And so this is the technical discussion. We'll go in depth about the white paper. And then topic 2 will be Sound Signature Review 6161, the Savage Arms AccuCan AC30 with 762 NATO. So again, 308 bolt action. Again, completely different technology. Again, you first saw the AccuCan AC22. So the question here is, well, how does the monocore design you saw in that 22 can scale up to 30 caliber? And what type of performance can you expect from the lightweight bolt action silencer when you do it in this way? And it is lightweight. It's incredible. The AC30 is interesting. The primitive technology with lightweight. So it's a good mix. So it's an introductory discussion for the paper that we will be publishing today with this episode, or today for you. Future Jay will publish that. Okay, so let's see. Topic 1. At a time of 12 minutes and 50 seconds. Okay, that was very long. Good. Thanks for those of you who stuck with me on that intro. I appreciate you, okay? So topic 1, Sound Signature Review 6160, the PTR VENT 1 with 762 NATO, technical discussion. And I have the silencer right in front of me, as I typically do when I speak about it technically. I'm a very tactile person. I like to hold it. I don't hold it the whole time, but that's weird. No, he's weird. This was ridiculous, right? This performance. I didn't know when we were going to have significant movement up top in the 308 rankings. I didn't know. And before last week, it was a game of optimization, I think. What we were seeing was silencers take high performance and scale it in smaller and lighter envelopes with higher flow rates. Okay? I thought that, okay, we'll probably see some more incremental changes, some more optimizations, and that's what 2024 is going to hold for us. I thought to myself. You know, and we saw the Cat JL, and that was a good breath of fresh air, frankly. Finally, some movement at the top of the rankings. 8.5 inches long, doing some major work with advanced technology. The tech in that, they call it Sniper 2. Awesome. It was great to see, by all accounts. We were thrilled. Now, kind of in the shadows, I guess, which is really wild when you really stop to think about the gravity of this. PTR has been playing with this purposely induced porosity, the PIP technology, for a while, for a bit, for years, actually. And you saw it on 9mm on the MP5, yes, from Pew Science. And that was a relatively low pressure application there, right? Low pressure. But it did work. Yeah, it worked. It worked well. It was slightly edged out by the cat mob, yes, but still at the top of the heap. Really at the top of the heap. Really doing well. Really doing well. So that was interesting to see with regard to how it managed low pressure with short duration. Short combustion duration, right? And so that was Article 6.131, right? 131. So then after that, we moved to higher pressure, didn't we? Yes, we moved to 556. And that was the vent 3, right? Yeah, I'm like vent 1, vent 3, I get confused. That was the vent 3. Okay, extremely high performance with the vent 3. Very interesting. Again, purpose-built silencers moving to capitalize on the technology they're using. Okay? The PIP allows for different porosity to be used in different portions of the silencer. And we're going to get into that a little bit here on the episode today. But I want to keep talking big picture for a second. Okay? So you see the vent 2 with low pressure, low duration. Okay? You see the vent 3 with high pressure, longer duration. Okay? And now you see the vent 1 with high pressure and even longer duration. Okay. And each time we're seeing a commonality here, each time. What is the commonality from PTR besides the PIP? It's the length. Yes, relative length, isn't it? Yeah, the silencers are a little longer. Not gigantic. They're not gigantic, but they are longer. Yes. Is that purposeful? Well, yeah. I mean, you want to be quiet or not, right? You want to what? You want to win? No, I'm just kidding. No, turn it into a race. But speaking frankly, do you want to be quiet or not? And I'm speaking in a very general manner, but this is something to notice. So going forward, I think it will be incredibly interesting to see what can happen when you go shorter. I do think that now. I think that is going to be another test for this technology to see just how much efficacy you can achieve in smaller envelope designs. There are several factors that folks are watching with these silencers, including us. And one of the things we are watching is the size and what they are going to do with that part of it. So stay tuned, and I think it will be a very interesting exercise. It is very rare that you have a front row seat to a newer technology in the public eye. Regardless who thinks whatever about seeing this elsewhere, I am telling you, no one has publicly showcased this in this way before. So you do have a front row seat to a silencer industry innovative technology use in your lifetime, like in real time, and that's very rare. Okay? I love it or hate it. I do not care. Let's be objective on what you're seeing. Okay? So regardless of the size, let's move on, and regardless of size, let's talk about the raw performance. Okay? Now, this was not a little jump, guys. This wasn't like a little jump. This wasn't the type of jump we're used to. And it's not the type of jump, frankly, I think any of you are used to with 308, right? Because it simply hasn't happened in a while. So what I think we should do, I think the best way to do this is we will go ahead and we're going to start to step through the article. And as we step through it, I'll give you some metrics. And when we talk about the performance in detail, I think we'll be able to visit some specific aspects of what the silencer is doing and specifically what the PIP technology is doing. And I really think that part is very important. I think at its core, the technology in the silencer is allowing some design choices to happen that normally wouldn't work as well. Okay? I really do think that from what I have seen, like just bore scoping it. Okay. And I've been given permission to tell you I have seen a cutaway of the silencer as well. Okay. So I told PTR today, I said, cool. Thanks for showing me. My conclusions do not change after seeing the cutaway. I already knew. I bore scoped it, and I knew enough just from looking at that. I don't need to know more because I have the data, and we'll talk through about why that is. So again, just to restate what I just said, I do think that the technology in the silencer is allowing some design choices to be made that normally wouldn't be as great. I'm not saying it's a poor design. I'm saying it is enhanced. Okay. Whenever we have enhancement in this way, my way of thinking about it, for me, it's almost like a little bit of a power up. It's like a little magic mushroom. If it's Super Mario Brothers, remember? You get that little mushroom and you become Super Mario, get a little bigger. Remember that game? It was awesome. It's like a bonus in efficiency. It's like a bonus in efficiency, right? You don't, let's be clear, you don't get something for nothing. But you do get some things to happen that benefit you. And that's not even talking about the new design directions you can take if you were so inclined. Okay, so for me, this starts off just thinking about how you could modify existing silencer designs just to incorporate the PIP. I mean, the brainstorming that I've had already is just, it's staggering what I've thought about. I don't write it down. I just daydream about it. But hold that thought. We're going to get into it. Okay, so go ahead and pull up the article on the website. That's 6160. That's the 160th subsection of section 6 of the Silencer Sound Standard at pewscience.com. You can, of course, pull up the free public version of the article if you like. If you're a Pew Science member, thank you for your support. You're the lifeblood of the effort. And you should pull up the full member article. Okay, but no matter which version you are looking at, you will still be able to follow along. Please do not worry. No man, woman, or child left behind. One moment. It is surprisingly difficult to talk for like over an hour straight and not make the weird sounds in the microphone. So I'm really trying, guys. I'm like not the best at this like producing thing, but hey, it's cool. Bottom line up front, 49.7 suppression rating, 1 meter left of the end of the silencer. 56.1 suppression rating at the shooter's ear for a composite suppression rating of 57.3. Okay, bruh. This is one of those things when you're with your friends and you're like, bro ham. No, seriously, not normal. Not normal. I cannot emphasize to you how abnormal this is. I do not care who you are. I do not care who you work for, what you do, or any of that. You have to acknowledge this. You have to. I'm serious. Just sit here for a second, let that marinate, dude. Before we get into this, just for context, especially for new folks listening, a muzzle suppression rating of 49.7 is about a category higher than most high-performance silencers on this type of weapon. Okay? That is staggering. A shooter's ear suppression rating of 56.1 is still half a category higher than most of the playing field, okay? The closest to the shooter's ear is the Cat JL with 53.5. You know? So again, close. But the muzzle suppression rating, that's a big differentiator. We're gonna get into this. And this is like these numbers, I like quadruple check this, guys. Like this is right. And when you've been here long enough with us and with me on this podcast to know when we see something like this, we're like, wait a minute, that can't be right. No, it's right. Insane. Okay, so let's get into it. So right away, you see this incredible raw performance. Okay. This is raw, unadulterated, high-performance suppression to reduce the hazard to operator and bystanders with supersonic 308 by whatever means necessary. Okay? This is the bolt gun optimized PIP implementation. Folks, okay, you understand? This is what you do when you want to make the technology work for you to be quiet. Full stop. I'm not saying this is the only way you could do it. I'm saying this is what they did. Okay? This is what they did. This is what the data shows. And you want to know how they did it? Let's go on. I'll explain it. What is the best way to examine a silencer's behavior? What's the best way to start? We find the most efficient way to start is to look at the silencer's fingerprint. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll go ahead and start there in figure 1. So if you're looking at the colorful graphic at the top of the page, please scroll down past the first table with the peak cataloged values until you get to the data plots. Okay, in this section of the article, you will see figure 1. You have figure 1A, and you have figure 1B. Okay, so this displays the raw blast overpressure signature measured from the PTR VENT 1 in the true free field, fully compliant with the mil standard, at a sample rate appropriate for proper measurement of these types of impulsive events. Okay, so PewSoft measures every microsecond. That's 1 million samples per second. Okay, that's 1 megasample per second. And if you're a techie out there, you might call this a megahertz, which is close enough. Not only do we not miss the peaks, we don't miss the shapes. Yes. The shapes, my friends, are paramount. The shapes are paramount. You have to set it all up correctly. You got to measure correctly, then analyze it correctly. And if you miss any one of like the 50 steps in this process, man, it can all go sideways pretty quickly. Ask me how I know. So the figure 1A that you see, like the raw amount of effort to achieve what you see in that figure, I do think is worth just mentioning, because it's extremely there's a lot of what would you call it, like energy potential, like just of the universe, like of effort baked into that plot. Like, I know it's just a plot, it's just a picture, it's like a PNG file, right? But I'm telling you, like that plot right there, oh my goodness. If you only knew, it's so crazy. Okay, so I'm serious, it's so crazy. So let's look at what it's showing you. I really want to dig into it. This is so exciting. I want to look at what the fingerprint of the VENT 1 shows you. And I want to talk about how it's showing it to you, okay? Figure 1A, full time regime, okay? From before the combustion takes place all the way until all the combustion is gone and there is full return to ambient conditions. Now, there is something immediately different in this fingerprint that you have literally never seen before. In this way, from a silencer in the pedigree on this host. You have not seen this before. Okay? This is one of the most unique signatures ever recorded. I do believe that. And what makes it special? It's the overall shape. I'm telling you guys, immediately the overall shape is highly unusual. It's highly unusual. You see the bullet shock. You see that bullet shock coupled with a muzzle jet event. You do see that. It's the first spike in figure 1A. It's roughly 30 milliseconds in that first figure. Fine. Okay. Expected for this type of silencer. Fine. But then what? Instant decay in amplitude, and not just a little bit of decay. It's an insta-kill of pressure propagation, insta-kill. And that is somewhat unique. But then what? Well, it holds that and throttles for a bit, doesn't it? It does. Okay, that's unique too. Then what? Blowdown begins. Okay. Pretty standard now, you might say. Oh, well, blowdown, we understand that. Okay. Well, yeah, you might say that. You might say that's pretty standard. Except look how fast it blows down. It never gets higher. It never runs away. It just dies. And it dies relatively quickly at low amplitude. That's what figure 1A shows. All of that. So if that were the only figure that you saw in this entire report, that figure would show you that the PTR vent 1 is doing something incredibly strange. Okay? It's dumping blast load with amplitude control that is highly unusual in both the lack of amplitude and the duration of the dump. Okay? Low amplitude, fast dump. Completely counterintuitive to how most silencers work. Full stop. Okay? Do you understand what I'm saying? It's cool. We're going to take a closer look. I'm going to show you that this is, in fact, real, just in case you doubt this for some reason. I don't know why you would, but we're going to continue. This is because this is crazy, what I'm saying. What I'm telling you is it's bonkers. Until you understand how the silencer works, then you're going to be like, oh my God, I know. I had the same epiphany. Okay, so it's crazy. Look at figure 1B now. Okay, figure 1B, yes. Okay, this is the very early time. You see the combustion occur with the gun and the barrel, and then you make you see that combustion make its way to the sensor, and then you see the major jetting enter the silencer. And that's the high frequency oscillation you see around in figure 1B. It's around 30 milliseconds or so in this zoomed in view. So those oscillations that you see there, they're labeled internal combustion there in the plot. They lay on top of each other for all the shots. And they're high frequency. Interesting, isn't it? So in the figure, you see shot 1 and shot 2. Those are the only shots shown in that figure for readability. The reason why that high frequency signature or the high frequency oscillation presents in the early part of that signature in the way it presents, that is due to the exact and unique resonant signature of the silencer prior to pressure exit. And this is not the silencer ringing in late time. I don't want you to confuse that with that. It's not that. It's propagation of pressure pulses through the titanium body of the silencer, and it's occurring at the sound speed in the titanium, and then it's broadcast to free air immediately, where immediately for all intents and purposes, due to the sound speed in titanium being much higher than air, it's broadcast to free air. You have an impedance change as the wave hits atmosphere, then the waves propagate to the sensor. So I know that's a very complicated way of saying that, but let me give you a simple analogy. This is like if you yelled really quickly, or you had a really impulsive yell, if you were stuffed into a metal trash can with a lid on it, and your buddy could hear you outside the trash can. Maybe a better way to say it's like if you set off a firecracker in a metal trash can with a lid on it, and then you heard the boom from inside the trash can. Does that make sense? That's that part in early time. Cool, right? Wild. So immediately after that, and I do mean immediately, you get your primary shock from the bullet exit at roughly the same time that the gas pushing the bullet starts to exit too. You have the fortunate luck here that expanding combustion gases do, in fact, push bullets through gun barrels. And they do, in fact, follow the projectile through the silencer. You get a very pretty shock wave. It's actually gorgeous, really. Very pretty and consistent rarefaction of the wave, too. Just couldn't be more textbook consistent, too. Just really beautiful. And right after that, the weirdness starts. I'm telling, because right now you're like, oh, a lot of you are with me. You're like, oh, this is like Mickey Mouse. I'm like, dude, it almost is a Mickey Mouse, right? So far, cool, dude. We're in the first microseconds. Stick with me. The weirdness starts next, and it's what I was talking about from the full time regime in Figure 1A. Now, in Figure 1B, you can see the weirdness up close, and that's one of the reasons why Figure 1B is there. You see the way it's jetting. You drop amplitude to the low 130 dBs or so, like give or take, okay? I'm just using that as an amplitude peg point for you. You drop to that amplitude, give or take, and you hum along there, and it doesn't budge. It just doesn't budge, okay? It doesn't erratically jump. It doesn't run away. But it doesn't disappear completely either. It just hums along. You're starting to really see what's this is like some foreshadowing, right? So what happens in the first shot? That FRP. It really doesn't do much of a different thing either than subsequent shots. I mean, yes, you do get a little bit of extra combustion that we do measure. Yes, it's labeled. It's there. There is, in fact, a little bit, and it's noted in the figures. It's noted in the article. But by and large, no. The FRP really doesn't do anything differently. The FRP hums along. And shot 2 hums along. And if we zoomed into other shots, they hum along. That's all this thing does. No more, no less. It's boring in its consistency. It's boring in its pressure control. Okay, this is like an off switch for blast severity. That's what this is. That is what I call the Vent 1. So now let's look at another representation of these phenomena and go a little deeper. We're going to look at the same thing, but we're going to look at it in a different way. Okay? Scroll down slightly to Figure 2. Okay, now, again, you have Figure 2A and Figure 2B. So we split it up. Now, in these figures, instead of blast pressure, you are viewing blast impulse. Okay? Blast pressure is the force per unit of projected area imparted on you by the pressure wave. Okay? Blast impulse is the momentum transfer potential of the wave particles as the wave sweeps over you. Okay? To be clear, and this is very important for you to understand, these are two different ways to display the exact same physical event. Okay? These are two different ways to understand the time-varying nature of the system's signature. And remember, if you look at just the peak pressure, or if you look at just the peak impulse, you will most certainly not get the whole story. This is the purpose of the Silencer Sound Standard. To look at full characterization is the whole pay dirt, the whole juice, and how it works. Okay, so in Figure 2, I'm going to walk you through this. I'm going to drag you kicking and screaming through this if I have to, but you're going to come out on the other side. I promise. Don't be scared. In Figure 2, what do you see? You see the exact same thing happen we just discussed. And that should bring you comfort. Right? Because it's the same data. It's the same event. It's just expressed as a different mathematical quantity. But here, you get to visualize something really cool. Okay, that's great, and there's nuance here. There's nuance here, and I was gonna say I think a lot of people miss this, but I know for a fact people are missing this part. Typically, right away you're gonna miss this if you focus on just peak analysis. Okay, if you're a person who only looks at peak pressure or only looks at peak impulse, and you are making decisions and conclusions based on that, I strongly, emphatically urge you to be careful. Because you're doing yourself a disservice. And I am actually overjoyed and happy that I have this particular opportunity to explain this today with this particular silencer, because the data here shows a very practical example of why the peak numbers will fool an untrained analyst or engineer. And when I say untrained analyst or engineer, I mean one that has no experience with blast effects analysis. And I'm not tooting my own horn. I'm literally telling you, like, this isn't like something that someone's just picking up, like on the street. This is like super niche, but I'm going to teach it to you. Okay, cool. So you go back to basics real quick. Let's go back to basics, back to reality, right? To the physical touch. Let's go back to the physical world for a second. The physical geometry of the silencer. Let's get back to its essence. I really wanted to explain how this works. You do not need to know exactly what is in this silencer. You only need to know the concept. Okay? You only need to know the concept. What is the concept of the PIP technology? What does it allow? What does it facilitate? And what does it help with specifically? It's in the name. Purposely induced porosity. It's like, actually, like, sure, is it a marketing name? You could call it a marketing name, except it's really simple and it's actually aptly describing exactly what it is. What is its nature? How does the porosity assist you with your mission? Think back to what your mission is. Think back, dude. Think back. Go back to baseline. Your mission is to facilitate energy transfer. Yes? Why? To reduce signature severity. How? By any means necessary. You beg, you borrow, or steal. You ask the PIP to do you a major favor here. Okay? You interact with as much of the combustion byproducts as physically possible. You ramp up your heat transfer. You increase your turbulence. You do both, feeding each other simultaneously. But how? How does one exercise the nature of a porous medium that is asked to do such a thing in an efficient way? How do you maximize the efficiency of such a thing? How would you do that? Well, step one is that you must cross the porosity. You must cross the porosity. You have to move through the porosity. You have to penetrate. Only through penetration will you extract the juice of this, the efficiency juice. So let's go back. Go back to figure 1 and figure 2. What is that you are seeing in figure 1? What are you seeing in figure 1 after the first major exit event? What are you seeing? You're squeezing the juice. The pressure is already propagating. There's no gap in time. You have not decoupled the events. You have not decoupled the exit event from the onset of pressure propagation. You have no gap in time. Why is this important? I'll tell you why. Look at figure 2 now. What happens after the first peak slightly after 30 milliseconds in figure 2? What happens after that first major impulse accumulation? What happens? Do you start to go negative at all? I mean, barely. You start to drop a little bit, right? Kind of. Do you start to go way negative? No. Why? Because you can't. You can't. Why? You can't. Why? Why can't you? Because it's physically impossible for the impulse history to go further negative at that region of the time domain with the silencer. It's physically impossible. Why? Why? Because the PIP won't let you. Oh, there it is. It's because the PIP won't let you. There is the entire point of the entire thing right there. That key point summarizes this entire thing. Right here, smack dab in figure 1 and figure 2 for everyone in the world who looked at this and didn't see it. If you've tested this silencer somewhere in the world and you looked at this and didn't see it, you missed it. It's right here. You can't go negative because you're immediately venting through porous structure, guys. I spent time explaining what you saw in figure 1. Okay, we've been through it already just a couple minutes ago. You see what you see in figure 1 not only because of primary bore flow from the blast chamber, no. You're continuously moving through PIP. You are occupying regions of pressure propagation in the sound field during moments in time that are typically not done with a normal high-performance silencer. Take a look at it. When you prove it to yourself, do it. I welcome it. Look, take a super high back pressure silencer. I don't know, Dead Air Nomad L, Thunder Beast XYZ. I don't know, pick one. Hydrogen L, whatever. Dude, I don't care. I don't care what you pick. Pick one. I want you to pick one. Pick one in a high Omega zone, or don't use Omega. I don't know. Pick a silencer. Grab one off the shelf. I don't care what it's called. Go back to the basics, like a Jolene or Enticer L. Or go high early time flow rate with something exotic like a Hyperion or like a Cat JL. Do that. I don't care. Look at every single one. Go test them. Set up your data acquisition system. Do it yourself. I don't care. Look at every single one. Look at all the silencers and what happens regardless of early time flow rate. One of two things, homie. One of two things happens. Either everything dies after the exit event and you slowly start blowdown, or things try to die and then they get erratic. Only one of two things happens in all the silencers we've seen, and that means all the silencers you've seen. Only one of two things. I'm serious. This is facts. Nothing proprietary. Nothing proprietary. Stop saying that word. It's not proprietary. This is physics, and as soon as physics becomes proprietary, we're kind of screwed. Okay? So with the Vent 1, again, with the Vent 1, neither of those things are happening. This is both the key to its performance and the key to its consistency. In a traditional silencer material use case, you are trapping combustion products and using the time delay, the turbulence, and the heat transfer to reduce signature, full stop. That's how silencer works. That's silencer 101. Okay. The PTR PIP, the purposely induced porosity technology, it has a magic mushroom I told you about. You get to do the exact same thing the other silencers are doing, but you get to add the dimension of mass flow rate through a porous medium. Oh my God. So while the other silencers stop the clock, the PTR keeps the clock going and works through the timeout. Is that a good analogy? So I'm telling you, instead of calling a timeout, the PTR Vent 1 runs another play. Now, is that cheating? I mean, only if the ref says you can't do it, but the ref is physics. Remember, say it with me. Physics doesn't care about your brand. Oh, that's true. Too bad, so sad. Yeah, physics doesn't care about your brand, homie. So bringing this back, now that you fully understand what's going on, listen to it again if you're not getting it. Yeah, I believe that you will get this. Why would you possibly think that the peak value in figure 2 would help you with anything? Why would you think that? I'm asking you. What in tarnation? Why on God's green earth would you start quoting peak values off of figure 2 as a performance indicator? Why? Why would you think that would help you if it was achieved by accumulating momentum transfer over a time window that's longer with other silencers? Guys, it's an integral in the time domain. It's adding up the positive phase pressure contributions, and that causes positive phase impulse. It's not wizardry. So if you don't have enough rarefaction or pressure stall or both, you're just going to keep accumulating impulse on the plot, and you'll end up higher than another silencer, even if you're doing more work during the same time regime. Guys, we're talking about human inner ear damage risk potential here. And we're talking about it dynamically in the time domain. Take everything you know about static loading and throw it out the window, okay? We are looking at a dynamic event. It's a different sport. These are different wave shapes as well. And the PI space for different wave shapes do not interact with each other. Pressure impulse space for different wave shapes are mapped differently. That's physics. The only way to hop spaces is using a decoder ring mathematically. And I can tell you right now, there's one of two ways that are physically possible for most people to do that. One, you're either going to need all the PI curves for every single wave shape, which you're either going to need that or you're going to need the suppression rating. Pick one. I'll pick it for you. Suppression rating. Because that's the one that exists. Okay. Pro tip, use it. Because good luck doing the other way. I mean, if you know what? You know what? For those of you home, if you do the other way, please show me, because you will win a prize, probably a Nobel Prize. I couldn't even see the level of effort would be inconsequential to, like, it'd be some kind of like miracle to do that. We decided to do it differently, in a way that would be practically usable. So, right. I mean, is this clear? Like, this is like this is like in Silencer Sound Standard. We've talked about this for like 5 years. You can't hop PI space with just peak number for different wave shapes, guys. And what did I just tell you in the start of the technical talk? You look at figure 1A, is the wave shape different in the time domain for this silencer than others? Well, yes. Anyone that measures this with raw data can see that. So why would you just look at a peak value if you know that you can't be in the same PI space with different wave shapes? Well, okay. So with all of this in context, look at figure 2 again. I'm bringing you back. Look at figure 2 again. You have all this context now. Now you know why the entire thing matters. Superior consistency is displayed in figure 2. What is the only thing that rivals this? Cat JL. In my opinion. The consistency. I'm not talking about the pure muzzle suppression rate. I'm talking about consistency. The Cat JL is the only thing that rivals the consistency of the Vent 1 in this way. Full stop. Completely different silencers. Completely different fingerprint. Completely different physics. But yes, consistency is similar. And that's good, because you need that consistency to get into this type of performance regime. If you don't have it, you're just not going to get there. Take a ticket. Step back in line and try again. But, one second. Important thing here, and boy, you almost wish you thought of it type of thing. It's like so like in your face once you figure it out. You're like, oh my God, like it's so simple. It's like that Zoolander movie where like, it's in the computer. No. The Vent 1, that magic mushroom, that porosity, like I have an idea. Imagine this. Put your thinking cap on. Imagine this is a really great thought experiment, because I think this is gonna help you too. Now, I'm gonna test your memory, and some of you are gonna laugh, some of you are gonna cry. It's fine. You have to break some eggs to make an omelet. Remember the analogy of flow transitioning from subsonic to transonic to supersonic, and having to push through a crowded movie theater? You remember? Remember how if you're moving subsonically, you can tap the guy in front of you on the shoulder, and he might get out of the way, or at least he'll know you're there, right? Why? Well, you're subsonic. You're able to communicate because you're moving slower than the communication rate in the medium you're traveling in, right? That's the definition of subsonic movement. Yes, that's communicating at or below the sound speed in the medium. Fine. And typically that's how molecules behave, and that's how molecules act. They're hunky-dory. Everything's fine. What if you're moving supersonically for a while? What if you move so fast that your nearest neighbor can't communicate with you because he can't receive communication fast enough? It's not that he doesn't want to listen to you when you're tapping him on the shoulder. He doesn't have the reaction time. He's slow. So what happens in the movie theater when you're moving supersonically past your neighbor? Well, you plow through the entire movie theater, and you may or may not kill everyone in front of you. I mean, and if you're trying to get out of the theater and you're going through the hallway, it's a pretty gruesome sight. I mean, there's blood everywhere, right? It's disgusting. There's body parts everywhere. Just mashing the patrons as you plow through them at sonic velocity. They can't get out of the way. It's impossible. So they just explode. There's a discontinuity in the medium. You're shocking them into pieces, literally. What could help you? What may help you get through faster? Because you got to get out of there. You're causing a lot of problems. You got to like change your name. It's the whole thing. What could help? The broom closets, if you open them, you know they got those little closets in the movie theater hallways where the janitorial staff after the movie like puts things. Open those closets And what happens? Some of the folks could potentially get out of the way just due to precursor flow pushing them. And the more closets you had, the better, correct? You could probably even clear the whole hallway faster if you had some little ways for them to escape. I mean, they're going to get filled up. For sure, dude. There's so many people in the hallway, and these closets aren't very big, so you're going to fill them up. But they will, in the short term at least, when you care about it, in the short term, you're going to relieve some congestion, yes? In the short term. Now, what if you take that exact same hallway, and you make the walls out of, I don't know, spider webs or something? Like, what if you could just push through them, like pushing through a net, and then pop out the other side? Like imagine, just imagine, dude. Use your imagination land. Same hallway, same walls, same dimensions. You could just kind of go through it. It's like porous. Would that help? It could. Like conceptually. You agree it could help conceptually? Okay. So, besides the venting, besides the extra heat transfer, besides the extra turbulence, besides all of that, all those mechanisms, what can PIP potentially do? It can potentially help to relieve stagnation to keep a combustion propagation cycle flowing. Oh. You could flow into the next phase, and you could do so in a way that no other technology can do, really, that we've thought about, or I've thought about. Why? Well, because it's doing this through force pressure transition across the physical boundary layer. It's not bouncing, reflecting, moving around, but it's moving through. I mean, sure, you are reflecting. There is reflection, but you're also moving through simultaneously through the walls. You're moving through the material. And that's the juice. So forget about what it looks like inside or whatever. I don't, who cares, dude? Like, who cares? Who cares? Think about the potential here. I want you to really think about this. If there are no downsides, and do not get angry, I'm being theoretical. If there are, so I gave you hard data, I explained the physics, then I give you a brain-friendly analogy, albeit gruesome, but still true, helpful, I hope. Now I'm going to go into the theoretical land and the thought experiment to discuss being relatively pragmatic in thought. If there were no downsides to this, big if, I want you to think about the upside. What can you do? You see where I'm going with this? For one thing, I want to think about the potential, and I just want you to sit in this for a second. Why not, right? We have 3 articles on this. This is the 3rd time we've examined this technology, because we have the full combustion regime, in my opinion, we have, I just explained to you how we had 9 millimeters subsonic low pressure. I'm sorry, subsonic low pressure, short duration. You had 556 high pressure, long duration. Now you have 762 NATO, high pressure, ultra long duration. You have 3 entirely different combustion regimes, different orifice sizes, different technology implementations, and the silencers. Now we're at a point that I believe it's appropriate to talk in this way. Now, first of all, is there a critical pressure you need for this? Potentially, yeah. But guess what? You can adjust porosity to change that. You can vary porosity to change critical pressure in different regions of the silencer. And when I say critical pressure, I mean like most efficient way to activate the mass flow rate between chambers to facilitate high performance. Okay, so the very fact that you can simply adjust the porosity to like gain different flow states is complicated and also insane when you really think about it. Like, it kind of hurts your brain a little bit, but that's technically true. It's technically true, right? That's one thing. Second of all, is there a critical length you need? Is there a critical length? Trick question. Worded another way. Is there a critical path length you need through the porosity for a given critical pressure? I don't know yet. I'm excited to find out. But that's like, look, there's a thought experiment. I really want you to, I want you to marinate in the gravity. So I don't care if you like this or not. I don't care if you think it works or not. I'm telling you what it does and what you need to think about going forward, because this is new. No one's talked about this ever publicly that I've seen. So there's that with regard to small arms. Okay. Third, does it clog? I mean, logic would dictate that eventually, yes, it would clog. That is probably one of the most straightforward conclusions you could draw intuitively. But can you clean it? Yes. Which may be less intuitive to you, but the answer is yes, you can clean it. A question then becomes, well, should you clean it? Well, that answer more intuitively it would be also yes. You should clean it. Okay, and so for this, that's the end of that statement. Please talk to PTR, not my rodeo. Not my rodeo, but I do advise you, yes, you will need to clean it. Fourth, I have 4 things here. Does it break? I don't know. I don't think it breaks easily. From what I've seen, the information that I have, I do not think it breaks easily. Again, not my rodeo. Please speak with PTR, but I don't think it breaks easily. So those are my 4 thoughts on the potential. It's the critical pressure thoughts, and then adjusting porosity parameters to tune that. The second one is the critical length, and that being a little more complicated because I'm really talking about critical path length. And then third is the clogging and the subsequent cleaning, and the fourth is the durability and do you need to worry or not. And so these are the 4 big, subtopics of this. Frankly, if there was a program that there are actually university laboratories that would offer a PhD in, or that do offer PhDs in which you could do a dissertation on this and be successful in getting that doctorate. And I think that these 4 items of this technology you could take 4 of them. You could take each of the 4 of them and you could split a dissertation out of. You could get at least 3 dissertations out of this. I really do think that. Because it's novel in the application. I'm not saying this is a novel concept. I'm saying it's novel in the application. In the public domain. I'm qualifying all that. I do not care who's done it. This is the first time in the consumer silencer space we've seen it like this, in this way. So I know there's people that are like, well, I thought, and this has, no, I don't care. I'm talking about like in common vernacular, what a reasonable person would indicate as it being available and working. Okay, I mean, very, very direct with you. I think that these 4 things are important for people interested in this technology to understand it. Those 4 examination points. Go wild. So those are my immediate thoughts. And again, I mean, if you look at what I've just told you, it's 2 highly positive things and 2, highly positive technical things, and then 2 potentially negative drawbacks. It's a very, very, very balanced view of the technology as we see it today. I think that's fair. I think it's fair to say that it's a very balanced view of the technology. I would say that we simply don't know enough about it yet. And I'm qualifying that by saying that I'm using the term we for Pew Science. Okay. Pew Science doesn't know enough about this yet. Okay. I know some things you don't know, but most of the stuff I know is in the articles. Okay. So most of it. So I would venture to say that we probably know more than most folks who've tested them. And now because we know more, you know more. which is good because that's the whole point of this, right? That's the whole point of Pew Science, to educate. So the article is very dense. It explains what I've been telling you with very technical language instead of some of these analogies that are not appropriate for the research articles. Like, for example, if I scroll down here, just riffing here for you, like Research Note 1, it talks about impulse accumulation, talks about venting the phases, compares CAT-JL. I use a phrase, leaked forward. I think that's a good way to think about some of this tech. You're leaking pressure forward. That's a surprise tool. It'll help you later. Okay. I think research. What is it? Research Note 4. I think. Yeah. Research Note 4. It's really good as a synopsis of some of this too. I think that note will be particularly useful to some of you who may see this silencer tested with no analysis. Like if you for some reason see the silencer tested somewhere and they offer no analysis, I think Research Note 4 will help you a little bit. I hope this does help you because you really, without analysis, you wouldn't know what you're looking at. So yes, that's going to help you understand what's actually happening, what to look for. And another note I have in here is about precision. I do not think it's possible for a silencer to have a high degree of precision on a weapon system without some type of demonstration of combustion consistency in the measured blast propagation. Like if you like, I recognize that theory is probably a little controversial, but I think it has merit. And speaking of consistency, another theme here, in the member version of the article, I talk about that in the member version of the article. Don't I? Yeah, with less impulsivity, it's important. You should probably, if you're a member, please. Please view that. There are a lot of comparisons in the article. And really the comparisons we're making here is with other high performance silencers, simply because this is now at the top of the heap, and it's important to understand that in context, and that's powerful. It's very important to understand that yes, this thing is 9.1 inches long with the direct thread mount. Yes, that is factually correct. That is true. So it is long. Yes, but guys, the Hyperion, as tested with a thread adapter back whenever we tested it, whatever year that was 9.5 inches long. And if you're like both pulling up to the drag strip, bro, this Vent 1 is going to walk a Hyperion in a drag race. And doing that is insane to even say. Did you ever think I would say words like that? No, it's not even hyperbole, bro. This is crazy. It's crazy talk, but it's true. So now when you get to the 8.5 inch silencers, the Nomad L, the CAT-JL, get a little shorter. I mean, yeah, the Vent 1 is longer, but man, the performance jump is still high. I think when you get to the CAT-JL comparison, it's interesting because the muzzle suppression rating is so wildly different due to the sound field shape. So that can trick you a little bit. Really different silencers. And again, the Vent 1 is just really doing some incredible work here. And I do think it's undeniable. It's longer, but yes, it's still undeniable. You can't not deny the raw performance. And one second. A lot of people ask, and you know how a lot of people have been asking me, and this like used it as a prompt to say, no, I'm serious. Like a lot of people have asked us, and frankly, we've been thinking the same thing. They say, well, if you made the Vent 1 shorter, could it still do this? And I mean, it's a good question. And we talked about this a little bit, right? I would guess that probably the efficacy of the technology would still be very high. And yes, I do think it would still do very well. Now, would it score close to this? I mean, potentially, but we really don't know. And this is highly nonlinear. It's really anyone's guess. One thing that's cool to think about is this is only the third silencer you guys have seen with the technology so far. Remember, And that's very exciting because that's only 3 models. So we have several years to figure this out, and we have several years for other things to happen. And I mean, I didn't I say that earlier? Where like you have this front row seat here. This is nuts, dude. Who's ever thought about this like this? You're just sitting here watching this performance gauntlet, and you're like, what is going to happen next? I don't know. This just happened. Oh my god! Like, how many years is this going to go on? And like, are there going to be other things? It's like, I don't know. I can't wait for people to shoot this thing. It's crazy. So yeah. What else? Oh yeah. I do. Okay, and I know members, I'm kind of stealing some of your thunder here, but this is important for everyone to know. I wish I could show everyone everything, but like, I do make another statement in the member review. I think I want to highlight here. And this is like kind of a big picture thing that I think is important to say, because I do get these kind of questions, and I do appreciate the thought that goes into the questions. I want to say that we do remain optimistic that there's further performance runway in the space. And I mean that both for this technology specifically, but also for other technologies that we've seen. And I do think we have more to go. I think we have a ways to go. And I don't think we're hitting limits yet. Okay, so I want you to rest assured, I don't think we're hitting limits yet. I think some people think we've hit limits for the size envelope. I think some people think that. I don't think we're there yet from what I've seen. I want to see how far it can go. I am here for it. This is like crazy, and I'm totally here for it. So, yeah, but let's go back to some comparisons. Let's do this. And I'm going to be very diplomatic in what I'm about to do and say, because if I make one wrong word, boy, am I going to make someone angry. So I'm going to do this in a way that I think is diplomatic and professional, but it still might be hard for some people to hear. So I'm going to say it because I think I need to. I want to be real with you. Somebody said something to me, or showed me something the other day, about some of these, some standard conventional cone silencer, I'm not going to name any names, winning some award for being quiet, some kind of contest. I don't know what it was. I don't remember. And if I do remember, I'm not going to tell you. Whatever. Some kind of top ranking or something. Okay. I forget what silencer was. Imagine, I can tell you though, imagine shooting something like that with conventional cone baffles. Imagine shooting that next to a Vent 1. Imagine. I want you to look at figure 5 in the article right now. It's the bar chart, the red and the blue. When you look at silencers that have a muzzle suppression rating of like, I don't know, low 30s, you see some pretty solid silencers, I'd say. Fine. Okay. I will say that on a 308 muzzle suppression rating in the low 30s, no slouch. Definitely no slouch. There are some solid units in that range. Okay. Guys, the Vent 1 has a 49.7 muzzle suppression rating. Okay. That's almost 2 categories different in performance. 1 meter left of the distal end of the silencer, 1.6 meters above the ground in the free field. Just telling you. Okay. So whoever was talking about this other conventional baffle silencer and gave some award to it or whatever they did, take that award from them and put it on the Vent 1. It's only fair, right, dude? You can't. What are we going to use physical reality of how the silencers sound, or are we going to be a super duper pretend time, super happy fun time? No, don't be pretend time. Let's be real. Go shoot them both, dude. Just go shoot them both. I don't even seriously, guys, look at this, man. Look at the graph. I'm sorry, the plot of look at the bar chart. Look at these silencers: Cat JL, Vent 1, Jolene, Enticer L, Hyperion, Hydrogen L, Nomad L. Take just all those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Take those 7 silencers and then put them up against, I don't know, I'm reading from the plot. I'm not saying anything controversial. I'm reading from the plot. Theorem L, Ultra 9, Banish 30 Gold, Thunder Chicken. Compare them. Compare them. Go shoot them all on the same day, same host with your grandmother. I don't care who you bring to the drag strip, dude. Shoot them all. Tell me they compare. They don't. Don't compare. They're different. There's a different sport. So when you see a performance jump like this, I don't want you to think like, oh, it's just like a little bit quieter. It's like, no, dude, like there are levels to the game, and we've been doing this for years. And just because something's been on the chart for like a long time doesn't mean nothing's going to be quieter ever or something like that, right? This is like a dynamic event. Like this is like a human innovation race. It's like a space race, but on Earth. Okay. I'm telling you, if the suppression rating wasn't required, like if we didn't have to, if we didn't have to do this, like we wouldn't do it. Like, you know, it'd be really easy and like way cheaper. Just like we could just like dump all the raw test data onto our website and we'd be done. Like we'd have like 1,000 things on there, and you could sort through them, and it'd be so easy for us. Like it'd be like, oh yeah, check it out. Oh my God. But we're not doing that. We're not taking the easy way. We're going to do a useful way. So when you look at the figure 5 here, and remember, this isn't even the whole 308 data set in figure 5. It's not even the whole thing. It's just silencers in Omega Zone 6 and above. If you want to look at more comparisons, go to the ranking section in section 7. You can do that. But if you look at the silencers in the chart, it is, you know what's really crazy? A lot of things are crazy, but you know one of the really crazy things, the momentum transfer rate out of the distal ends vary so much. And guys, look at this. It's just really, the data set's so robust now, and you have all these metrics. A Thunder Chicken. Look at that Thunder Chicken, right? Full size silencer. Okay. It's mounted on a cherry bomb. Okay. 20-point differential at the muzzle from the Vent 1. 20 points? 15-point differential at the ear, approximately. Guys, the Vent 1 weighs 15.4 ounces. Okay. That's actually more than an ounce lighter than the Thunder Chicken and the Cherry Bomb. Okay. Now, caveat, sticking up for Q a little bit here. Hey, it's a way older silencer. Technology advances. Things change. That silencer is not really designed for supersonic high performance. It's more of a subsonic centric design. There's no secret. That's how their technology works. It's nothing wrong with that inherently. And it's older. Okay. But I'm telling you, like, I'm trying to give you like a feel for the jumps. Like there's been progress in the space, right? Like it's not like, you hear those people say, oh, all silencers sound the same. It's like, I don't think so. I don't think so. Now, I mean, and again, let's go back. Look at the upper echelons here. You look at the Cat JL and the Hyperion and the Nomad L. Okay. All incredibly quiet silencers on 308. Let's be honest. Okay. The Vent 1 is like, yeah, cool. Hold my beer. Look what I can do. It's crazy. And bam, I'm just amazed by this. The signatures are so different. And and you know what's really crazy? I'm telling you, there's so many crazy things. If we didn't have the JL, I'd probably be even more amazed. But I'm glad we have the JL in there too, because I think all these silencers are nuts. I think the gap between the Vent 1 and the playing field is big enough that you're going to see competition really heat up, and I think that's good. I think that's really good, and I think it's happened here at a really good time in the space. And my forecast is things are going to get very interesting. And that actually does bring me to another regime and a question that quite a lot of you asked both publicly and privately. What about subsonic 300 blackout? And that question, and I didn't want to talk about that until, first of all, I want to talk about the 308 performance and comparisons, but also, I also wanted to give you those 4 notes of observation and questions that I had. And so when you want to answer or try to answer the subsonic 300 blackout question, it goes back to the critical pressure and duration question. And I don't know the answer because I haven't tested it on 300 blackout. And so you ask yourself, well, is this porosity tuned for a pressure that low? So in other words, and this is, I really want you to understand what that means. Think about it like this. Would it be possible that this silencer just acts like a normal silencer on subsonic 300 blackout instead of something else because the pressure's not high enough? So you're not forcing through porosity as much, you're just skipping over it in the time regime of interest. So long story short, wouldn't it be interesting if you shoot on 300 blackout and you're like, oh, it's good, but it's not like, you don't see the performance gap you see here. You see, I don't know the answer. That's a for instance, but I don't know the answer. But the physical, but from what we're seeing in the test data, what our analysis shows, and what I've explained to you, the physical mechanisms are, it leads me to ask those questions like, oh my gosh, I don't know. Would you need to like increase porosity flow rate to maximize that type of magic mushroom utilization? Is a question. I don't know. I have my speculations. I really do have speculations. I'm going to hold them for hard data. I don't want to go further than that because I don't think it's fair for anybody. So another question that publicly and privately folks have asked is how the back pressure is on the silencer. Well, again, you have the omega metric, yes. So there's that. So you know that. Don't expect this thing to be a gas-free Wunderkind. You're not going to be like, oh, it's just like a Huxworks, the Huxworks flow through. No, it's not. One thing you should know, and I can give you some details here, the blast baffle's ported. And you'll see that when you buy one or whatever, or you go shoot one at your buddies or at a gun store. The blast baffle's ported. There's PIP in it, not in throughout the silencer, and there's some ways that pressure is dumped expediently in a tricky way. It's not super tricky, but in a cool way. I am inclined to think it might do okay on some semi-autos. Yeah, I think the early time flow rate is pretty high. I think it's gonna be a case-by-case basis. I think you're gonna have to see. I'm optimistic. One big thing to remember here, do not lose sight of this. I did speak about this earlier. This is a dedicated bolt gun optimized system. And so this thing is engineered to do what you see in the article. Is that clear? Okay. I wouldn't say that if it wasn't important. So yeah, I'm pretty stoked. I know this is long, like probably spent like over an hour on this topic, and I love it when we get to jump in the rankings like this. I'm pleased. I got to witness this firsthand, which is cool, and I'm super honored PTR chose Pew Science as the lab to show this to the world, which is really cool. And so I am going to toot our own horn for a second. I'm going to toot the horn. Give me this. Let me have this. PTR gave us a quote to put in the article. Okay? It's from them, and I'm going to read it now because I think it's a big deal, and I would just please allow me to let me humor you. They said, and I quote, "In addition to our internal engineering, research, and development, PTR relies upon independent third-party performance validation and analysis expertise from the Pew Science Laboratory. Pew findings contribute significantly to the choices we make throughout each design iteration, resulting in what we believe to be some of the most advanced innovations in the field of suppressor technology." So that's pretty cool. It's like they gave us some props, you know, and we got to put it on the website, and so that's cool. It's like a big deal, and so thank you PTR, and we're glad to hear that, and we're incredibly pleased. Our analysis has helped, and we are honored to be the one showcasing it. So this type of thing, I think, makes everyone better. I think it's an onward and upward situation for everybody, and I think the war is on. Which, hey, is it bloody? I mean, wars are bloody, dude. you know. But, there's battles and wars. Not everyone wins. It's going to be cool. I can't wait to see what's next from PTR and from others. Bring it, as they say. Yeah. Okay. That's all I got, guys. That's all I got in Event 1. That's a lot. Okay. So now for something completely different. Same, but different, but still same. Let's move into topic 2. It's time of 1 hour, 25 minutes, and 24 seconds. Oh my goodness. I spent a good hour 15 on that one. That's awesome. Topic 2, Sound Signature Review 6161, the Savage Arms AccuCan AC30 with 762 NATO. Yes. Savage AccuCan series is back. You saw the AccuCan AC22, remember? Remember it was a monocore and people freaked out it was so good? What happens when you scale it up to 30 caliber and you try to put huge combustion through it? What happens? Let's talk about it. 1 second. I told you that this was completely different. Hold on, I need more water. 1 second. Somehow I thought this was a good idea to do successive publications week to week, and then do the intro topic, and then do the technical topic for the previous one, and keep doing that. And it's oh my gosh, these things are getting insane, but we're persevering. I think it's packed. This is a lot of good info, right? I think it's cool when you get a lot of info. It's just it's a challenge to keep it all straight in my brain. But let me bring this back in contextual context is great, right? So when you move from something complicated like the Vent 1 or whatever, and you come back to, I would say, a staple in silencer technology, I think the statement, something that is completely different is really apt, because we are now in a completely different type of physics. I do think that the Savage AccuCan series, I think it's another type of technology showcase. It's a pseudo blast from the past, really. I think there's a twist, and I also think that it contains a fortuitous contrast to something you saw earlier in the pedigree. Does that make sense? So this is the second Savage silencer you've seen characterized by Pew Science, right? The first one being the AC22 in 6154. That was several articles ago, and in that article, you saw, well, somewhat surprisingly to many, you saw just how good an aluminum slant baffle monocore could do on that platform. Yes, that was 22 bolt action. Yes, it was a 16-inch barrel. But hey, it's an example of the technology. So what happens when you scale that technology in that monocore up to 308? You change the blast baffle and you give it a ride in a full centerfire combustion regime. Different physics? Boy, howdy, you bet there's different physics. What have you changed? No, you changed the blast pressure. You changed the duration. You changed the impulse. You've changed the heat. You've changed the jet thrust. You've changed things in a big way. So what can you expect? Check out the article to find out. check it out. No, seriously, it's live. It's live with this episode at approximately 0700 Central. That's Thursday. Yeah. So in a couple days, I'll post that up for you, and you'll see that on Thursday. The silencer, the AccuCan AC30, is intended for hunting use. It's light. You can take it apart if you want. You don't really need to a lot. It's direct thread only. It is for people screwing a silencer to their rifle and hiking through the woods to shoot an animal and eat the animal. As God intended. Yes, it's cool. No, it's super cool. When we get to examine how a technology scales in different combustion regimes, and even when the technology isn't super new, but still interesting to me. Because if you don't know where you've been, you will never know where you're going. And sometimes if you're not breaking the bank, or you don't need something wild and crazy, how good can you do with something more utilitarian and simple, maybe? I think that's cool. I mean, I think some of you will be surprised just how good you can do, and I think you should check it out. Big thanks to Savage Arms for trusting us to perform the work. I mean, it's actually very surreal to me, considering the Savage rifle is our 308 test host. I have killed most of the deer that are on my wall with that rifle. It's retired now as a hunting rig. It's the test host, but the Savage being a lab testing client is blows my mind. The world is a flat circle. It's like time is a flat circle. Is that the saying? It's like we live in a simulation. Sometimes I think it's like I just have to pinch myself how incredible this has all been. But yeah, I mean, I have the Savage can. It's light. I'm holding it right now. It's like, whoa, it's kind of cool because it has knurling on the outside. You can get a good grip on it and stuff. It's cool because like if it's a hunting can and it's gonna be with you like in the field and you're gonna be let's be honest, you're gonna carry a rifle with you with silencer on it. It's gonna be wet, right? I mean, you're hunting, so obviously it's gonna rain on you, or it's gonna be dew, or it's condensation, and that's cool. That little feature that I thought was cool. In the technical talk, I'm going to talk a little bit more about the physical features of the silencer. It has wrench flats. It's light, built-in mount. It's a very utilitarian, no nonsense type of silencer, which I think that probably I'm assuming that their target market is thrilled with, because sometimes you really need something extremely simple for infrequent use, which I think is what it's for, like on a bolt gun. So I do hope you found this episode informative. I do ask you, please stay safe out there. Please check out the Savage article on the AccuCan AC30 that will be published with this episode. Please let me know what you think. And as is tradition, after you have a week to go through it and think about it and read it and ask your friends and talk to your family, we'll be back the following week to do the technical deep dive per typical. So on this next episode here, we'll do the technical deep dive of the Savage, and I do want to say there will be more data coming this month, but we might take a short break for a week while we recoup. But next week, I have a research symposium next week, so I will be slammed in a way mentally that it's not healthy. So I won't have the capacity to go full ham again, but we'll pick it up again the following week with another publication. Okay, so next week will be technical deep dive of Savage, AccuCan AC30, and then following week we'll get more data, and it's crazy. We'll pick it back up basically we just where we left off type of thing. Okay, very good. The month's not over yet. I'll talk with you folks again soon. All right, bye.